My parents had decided to take myself and my three brothers out for dinner to celebrate their anniversary. On a hot Saturday afternoon, my 8-year-old self donned his best collared shirt and cargo shorts, and even slicked back his hair for the occasion. We sat at our favorite table, and some of the staff began to congratulate my parents on their special day. It really was a special day, but being the child I was, I always had the tendency to ruin family events. When my parents started to order, my nerves kicked in as the server worked his way around the table. At this point, my forehead was covered in sweat, and my hands had left imprints on my shorts. "And what can I get for you?" he asked, with a warm smile. I froze. As much as I tried, I couldn't get any words out. Run, I thought, which is precisely what I did. I hopped out of my chair and ran as fast as I could. I weaved throughout the other tables as tears began to fill my eyes. Eventually, I made it to a fountain in the corner of the restaurant, where I sat on the edge sobbing. Needless to say, after my epic meltdown and later temper tantrum, my parents' 15th anniversary had rarely been regarded as their favorite. To this day, one of the most challenging things I have to get myself to do is order food at a restaurant. I don't know how to accurately depict the feelings I have when I spot a server beginning to walk towards my table, or when they look me in the eyes, pen and paper in hand, waiting to record an order that everyone at the table will hear. It is a feeling that makes my hands clammy, scrambles every thought in my brain, leaving nothing to be conveyed, and creates a bottomless pit in my stomach that makes it physically ache. I know many of us can somewhat identify with this feeling. However, it's likely due to a situation more substantial than reading a menu item off to a server. I have many fears that can create this feeling, but for some reason, ordering at restaurants became synonymous with this gut-wrenching fear. I fully recognize that this is somewhat odd behavior, yet it was an example of one of the many things I had to worry about when growing up. I possessed an extreme and almost unique shyness that hindered me from being in any social situation, or saying a couple of words for that matter. I tend to laugh about it now, but the degree of how shy I was never fails to amaze me. This was a type of shyness that made me cry after speaking to anyone regarding just about anything. Casual conversations with others quickly turned into me running off with tears in my eyes for no reason. This was also the type of shyness that made me terrified to explain how I felt, or would not allow me to express ideas without a feeling of inadequacy. Something that seemed to have been a cute affectation of growing up morphed into a disorder of sorts that prevented me from enjoying a typical childhood. Saying only a few words a day became my routine. I would always go throughout my day with my head down and even master different techniques on how to prevent others from speaking to me. I tailored all of my activities, such as sports or clubs, to have as little communication with others as possible. However, one of the most unfortunate feelings came after I grew accustomed to these activities, and even excelled at them. It scared me to think that I would never garner the strength to change. It terrified me to believe that no one would ever know or even understand what I was feeling. That no matter what, I would always be reduced to the shy kid. I always worried about others being disappointed in me, since it felt like my value was directly correlated to how I conveyed my thoughts. Since I had none of this power, it sometimes felt that I would consider to be unimportant. I eventually grew tired of the many deep insecurities that cast a shadow over any dreams or aspirations I had created. I finally realized that I needed to change because the humiliation and isolation had given way to blinding anger towards my powerlessness over how my brain seemed to work. I was tired of my inability to communicate, getting in the way of my relationships, my schoolwork, and how it was making me hypersensitive to any form of rejection. A great way to help expand my comfort zone was to take on activities I was passionate about. Having an underlying motivation was vital in how I found the courage to begin opening up to others. Things like swimming or student council forced me to embrace vulnerability, especially in situations as uncomfortable as conversation. Each stride I took in opening up to others was accompanied by many instances of awkwardness or embarrassment. But this process was nonetheless valuable and made for funny stories later on. While conquering my fears of delivering a speech or leading a team was undoubtedly rough, these small acts symbolize a victory against old, unwanted ways. All of us have our ordering at a restaurant fear, something that is paralyzing and stops us in our tracks. However, sometimes when we look closer, it can be our biggest opportunity. An act that can be so terrifying can turn into something you love doing or even become passionate about. Look at what hurts you as a blessing in disguise or even a chance to grow. I am almost thankful for being shy because it taught me the valuable skill of self-reflection and self-improvement, which I greatly value today. As much as I appreciate my increase in conversational ability, I recognize all of the opportunities I've had. I tend to wonder where I would be if I hadn't let the deep-rooted insecurities control me. That feeling of regret always stings more than any of the pains I felt from my shyness. TMI, I urge you to make your ordering at a restaurant fear your favorite pastime. Allowing fears to fester and grow only allowed them to intensify and made it much more difficult to acknowledge them, and let alone conquer them. Looking back at what you've accomplished through the scope of what you could have done only if you believed that you were stronger or smarter is much worse than the feelings produced by petty insecurities. While I can't change those regretful moments of shyness or redo my parents' 15th anniversary dinner, I'd like to say that I've gotten a little better at ordering my food. Thank you.